Download and upload more than ever before with an ultra-fast fiber connection. With 3 simple steps, you can be the one with an SLT fiber optic connection. Visit slt.lk.
No immunity. UK Higher Court rules former Sri Lankan defence attaché in London, Brigadier Priyanka Fernando, will not be covered by Vienna Convention for his actions. No chance. Members of Northern Tamil parties to press the United Nations Human Rights Council not to grant Sri Lanka a 2-year extension to fulfill the country's resolution commitments. Fatal collision. A tragic train accident claims the lives of 2 teenagers. Membership reinstated. After a 9-month hiatus, Sri Lanka regains full membership of International Cricket Council. All that and much more coming up on First at 9 this Saturday, the 2nd of March 2019.
From Ada Derana, this is Ada Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on Ada Derana 24, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katerina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. Brigadier Priyanka Fernando is under the limelight once again, with international media reports emerging on the court case pertaining to his reactions during a protest organised by LTTE sympathisers in London last year. Media reports from London say the Chief Magistrate of Westminster Court ruled the Brigadier Priyanka Fernando, then Defence Attaché of the Sri Lankan High Commission in London, will not be covered by the Vienna Convention. The ruling was based on the argument that the Brigadier drawing his fingers across his throat was not a part of his job description and therefore will not have any legal basis for diplomatic immunity under the Vienna Convention.
During a protest organised by the LTTE sympathisers in London on February 4th of last year, the then military attaché at the Sri Lankan High Commission in London, Brigadier Priyanka Fernando, made a slit-throat gesture after pointing to the Sri Lankan flag to the protesters. Following outrage on the allegedly offensive gesture and concerns raised by the UK government as video footage circulated on social media, the Sri Lanka government moved to recall the defence attaché to the island. However, a group of Indians living in London later filed a case at the Westminster Magistrates Court in January this year. Thereafter, on the 21st of January this year, the Brigadier was convicted in absentia by UK's Westminster Magistrates Court for causing harassment, alarm and distress to the 3 complainants who brought a private prosecution. But the attorney representing Brigadier Priyanka Fernando at the UK court argued that he can be covered under the Vienna Convention as he had diplomatic immunity as an officer of the Sri Lankan High Commission at the time the incident occurred. The case was later taken over by the Chief Magistrate of Westminster, Emma Arbuthnot. In this backdrop, British daily newspaper The Morning Star reported that during yesterday's hearing of the case, attorney representing Brigadier Fernando, Barrister Nicholas Wayne, argued that Brigadier Fernando was operating under a 10-part job description, which included safeguarding the High Commission premises during any protest. Wayne had argued that the slit-throat gesture fitted with his client's job description, a claim that failed to convince the Chief Magistrate, who noted that the job description required Brigadier Fernando to strictly adhere to personal behaviour and professional standards. According to the newspaper, the Chief Magistrate had said, quote, "It was not part of his job description to draw his fingers across his throat on the 3 occasions he is said to have done that, and therefore he is not covered by the Vienna Convention," unquote. The court found Brigadier Fernando cannot rely upon diplomatic immunity to quash his conviction for public order offences. The attorney representing Brigadier Fernando then made an application under Section 142 of the Magistrates Court Act to have the case reopened on 3 grounds: abuse of process, that the trial proceeded in the absence of the defendant, and that the prosecution did not serve the summons correctly. It is reported that the judge adjourned the hearing and will consider the defence's application on March 15th.
Meanwhile, former Northern Provincial Councillor MK Sivaji Lingam is adamant that Sri Lanka should not be given a 2-year extension to fulfill commitments of the UNHRC resolution. Speaking at a media briefing in Jaffna, the councillor proceeded to say that representatives of Tamil parties in the north decided to hand over a report to the Human Rights Council with several requests, one of which is to bring Sri Lanka under an international criminal court or an international criminal tribunal. The Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has set 20th of March as the day to discuss the report on Sri Lanka at the ongoing 40th session. Sri Lanka was listed on the agenda for the session after making a commitment to show progress on the issue of human rights by this March.
இதிலே இன்றைய தினம் கூட்டம் நடைபெற்ற பொழுது ஒரு வரைபொன்றை நாங்கள் வைத்திருக்கின்றோம். அதிலே 3 பிரதான விஷயங்கள் உள்ளடக்கப்பட்டிருக்கின்றன. எக்காரணம் கொண்டும் கால நீடிப்பு வழங்கப்படக்கூடாது. இதைவிட இரண்டாவது விடயம், இந்த பிரச்சனையை ஐக்கிய நாடுகள் சபையின் பொதுச்சபை, ஐக்கிய நாடுகள் சபையின் பாதுகாப்பு சபை ஊடாக இன்டர்நேஷனல் கிரிமினல் கோர்ட் இன்டர்நேஷனல் கிரிமினல் ட்ரிபியூனல் என்று சொல்வார்கள். மூன்றாவது விடயம், ஒரு விசேட அறிக்கையிடும் அதிகாரி ஒருவரை நியமிப்பது. இதிலே அங்கம் வைக்கக்கூடிய கையெழுத்து வைக்கக்கூடிய கட்சிகளும் தமிழ் தேசிய கட்சிகளும் அதை சேர்ந்த பாராளுமன்ற உறுப்பினர்களிடமும் அந்த கையெழுத்துக்கள் பெறப்பட்டு ஐக்கிய நாடுகள் மனித உரிமை பேரவை ஆணையாளருக்கும் அந்த அறிக்கையின் பிரதிகள் அனுப்பி வைக்கப்படும். இந்த விடயத்திலே இந்த இறுதி வடிவம் எடுப்பதற்காக பிரதான கருத்துக்களிலே பெருமளவிலே கருத்தொற்றுமை வந்திருக்கிறது. அதிலே மாற்று கருத்து இருக்கவில்லை.
The Sri Lanka Air Force celebrated its 68th anniversary at the SLAF base in Hinguraggoda this morning. Speaking at the event, President Maithripala Sirisena expressed confidence in the services rendered by the Air Force, adding that they are having an insurmountable task ahead to ensure the protection of the nation and the region. The 68th anniversary of the Sri Lanka Air Force was held under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena at the Sri Lanka Air Force Base in Hinguraggoda this morning. The head of state was welcomed by Air Force Commander Air Marshal Kapila Jampati. The 68th Air Force Day Exposition and Air Tattoo 2019 was later declared open by President Maithripala Sirisena.
අපි දූපත් රාජ්‍යයක් විදිහට විශේෂයෙන්ම අපේ ඉතිහාසය අපි රණකාමී ජාතියක්. මේ වන විට ගුවන් හමුදා බටකණ්ඩායම් සහ හෙලිකොප්ටර් බණගලයන් විදේශයෙන්හි සාමසාධක රාජකාරීන් සඳහා ක්‍රියාකාරීව දායක වන බව ඔබ අප කවුරුත් දන්නවා. එය අපේ මාතෘ භූමියට, අපේ රණවිරුවන්ට, අපේ ජාතියට ඉමහත් වූ ගෞරවයක් සහ ප්‍රණාමයක්. ශ්‍රී ලංකා ගුවන් හමුදාවට හිමි කීර්තිමත් ඉතිහාසයක උරුමකරුවන් වන ඔබට හෙට දවස වෙනුවෙන් ජාතිය අනාගතය සඳහා කළ යුතු ප්‍රබල වූ මෙහෙයන් කාර්යයක් සශක් තිබෙනවා. ඒ සඳහා ඔබ සියල්ල සූදානම් බව මා ඉතාමත් හොඳින් දන්නවා.
UMP parliamentarian Mujibur Rahman says that the backbenchers of the party and some members from the joint opposition are ready to oppose the allocation for expenditure of the president during the next budget week. However, responding to media following an event this evening, non-cabinet minister of economic reforms Dr. Harshadi Silva dismissed such a suggestion.
දැයිය පෙරේද ජනාධිපතිතුමා කිව්වා මේ දූෂිත ආණ්ඩුව යටතේ මහ බැංකුවේ සිදුවෙච්ච සිදුවීම පවා මේ ආණ්ඩුව තියෙනකන් හොයාගන්න බෑ කියලා එතුමා ප්‍රකාශ කළා. අපි දන්නවා දැන් ලබන සුමානේ 5 වෙනිදා වෙනකොට අයවැය අපිට ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න වෙලා තියෙනවා. දැන් මේ අයවැයේදී ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ වැය ශීර්ෂයක් එනවා. දැන් මේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ වැය ශීර්ෂය අපි ගත්තම ඊළඟට එතුමාට අමාත්‍යාංශ කීපයක වැය ශීර්ෂයකුත් එනවා එතුමාට. ඒ හින්දා මම යෝජනා කරලා තියෙනවා පසුබෙල മന്ത്രിවරු හැටියට මේ මොහොතේ අපි කිසි විටකත් ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ වැය ශීර්ෂය සම්මත කරන්න අපි ඡන්දය දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි පරාජයට පත් කරනවා. පසුබෙල മന്ത്രിවරුම මේ අදහසේ ඉන්නේ. ඒකේ ඔබතුමාලාට 113ක් තියෙනවද? 113 වැඩි හම්බ වෙනවා අයවැයේදී. ඔව් ඒකාබද්ධ විපක්ෂයේ තව පිරිසක් ඉන්නවා ඒලා ඡන්දෙ දෙන්න.
Non-cabinet minister of economic reforms Dr. Harshadi Silva, however, had contradictory views in this regard.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ වැයශේෂය පරාජය කිරීමට යම්කිසි තීරණයක් අරගෙන තියෙනවද?
ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ වැයශේෂය පරාද කරන්නේ නැහැ අපි. අපිට එහෙම කරන්න අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ. ජනාධිපතිතුමායි අපේ අගමැතිතුමා ඇතුළු කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය ඒකට වැඩ කළ යුතුයි. ඒකට තමයි මේ ජනතාව ඡන්දෙ දුන්නේ. පක්ෂයක් හැටියට අපි ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ වැයශේෂය කිසිසේත්ම පරාද කරන්න උත්සාහ කරන්නේ නැහැ.
Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa pledges the country free of illicit narcotics under a future government. He said this addressing a conference initiated by the organisation earlier in Geloya this evening. Another conference of earlier was held in Geloya in Kandy under the patronage of former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
සිංහලද දමිලද මුස්ලිම්ද කියන එක නෙවෙයි. ප්‍රශ්නය තියෙන්නේ අපේ රටවැසියන්ට ජීවත් වෙන්නට සුදුසු ආදායමක් තියනවද? තමන්ගේ ළමයින්ට උගන්වන්න පාසලක් තියනවද? සුදුසු රැකියාවක් ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්ද? සෞඛ්‍ය තියනවද? තමන්ට ජීවත් වෙන්න සුදුසු නිවසක් සහ පරිසරයක් තියනවද කියන ප්‍රශ්නය. ඒ ප්‍රශ්නය සිංහල වුණත්, දමිල වුණත්, මුස්ලිම් වුණත් අපි හැමෝටම තියෙනවා. අපේ ඉදිරි රජයක් තුලදී මේ රටේ සෑම පුරවැසියෙකුටම ගෞරවනීය ලෙස මේ රටේ ජීවත් වෙන්න පුදුසු වාතාවරණයක් අපි සකස් කරනවා. ඕනෑම පුද්ගලයෙකුට Tamanගේ ආගම අදහන්නට මෙතෙක් කල් තිබුණටත් වඩා නිදහසක් මේ රට තුල අපි ඇති කරනවා. මේ රටේ බියක් නැතුව පාතාලේට කප්පම් ගෙවන්නේ නැතුව මේ රටේ ඉන්න කුඩු වලට Tamanගේ දරුවන් යටත් වෙන්න නොදී නීතිය හා සාමය හොඳින් තිබෙන රටක් අපි මේ රට තුල බිහි කරනවා.
JVP Politburo member K.D. Lakanta was further remanded until the 14th of March after being arrested on charges of drunk driving. Lakanta, who was arrested on charges of drunk driving yesterday following an accident in Anuradhapura, was produced before the Anuradhapura Magistrates Court today. The former MP was arrested by Anuradhapura police yesterday after the vehicle driven by him collided with a motorcycle. 2 women were reportedly injured in the accident and admitted to the Anuradhapura hospital for further treatment. Police spokesman SP Ruwangunasekara said that Lakanta was arrested for causing an accident while driving under the influence of alcohol. Two teenagers were killed in a tragic train accident in Navalapitiya this morning. Now, the victims were identified as Lalanga Harsha Kumara, aged 16, and 15-year-old Pumi Bhagya Sevandi. At the time, the express train was plying from Colombo Fort to Ella passed through Navalapitiya. 3 teenagers had been walking along its railway track. 16-year-old Lalanga, who saw the approaching train, had managed to push one of the 2 girls who walked alongside him but couldn't rescue the other who was walking ahead of him. Lalanga too was unable to save himself. The 15-year-old girl who perished in the accident had been on her mobile phone at the time. Remains of the 2 victims are placed at the Navalapitiya hospital. A recent study conducted by the United Nations Population Fund revealed that 90% of women and girls have endured sexual harassment at least once in their lifetime on public buses and trains. In order to raise awareness on this pressing issue, UNFPA together with the Colombo Municipal Council launched a public exhibition titled Does She Travel Safe?, which features real stories of women and girls who encountered sexual harassment in public transport. Speaking at the event, the UNFPA representative in Sri Lanka, Ritsu Nakan, said that policy-level action has been sought to address sexual harassment to achieve gender equality by 2030 as per UN Sustainable Development Goals. A public exhibition titled Does She Travel Safe is organised by the United Nations Population Fund together with the Colombo Municipal Council, Ministry of Women and Child Affairs and the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation. The exhibition featured real stories of women and girls who encountered sexual harassment in public transport and will be open to the public till the 8th of this month at the Town Hall grounds in Colombo.
I must take this opportunity to thank all of the women and girls who boldly came forward to share their story. While most people received these stories positively and supportively, we also saw a great deal of verbal abuse and victim blaming directed at these women and girls. This shows clearly the power structures and norms that perpetuate attitudes discriminating women and girls. I'd also like to acknowledge the Ministry of Transport, the recent decision to create the women-only compartments in trains. While we do strive Sri Lanka where women and men can travel together safely without harassment, so we hope this measure will generate further awareness on the issue and step towards a more sustainable solution. Achieving gender equality by 2030 requires urgent action by all of us. And we left only 12 years, less than 12 years now, to achieve our targets on gender equality and make sure we leave no one behind. I call upon all of you to speak up, intervene, and be the change. Let's start now.
Now, our humanitarian initiative Manusat Derana was honoured with the Silver Award in Corporate Social Responsibility and Sustainability category at the Justica Awards 2018 in Colombo short while ago. Once again, the news for you, the Manusat Derana was honoured with the Silver Award in Corporate Social Responsibility and Sustainability category at the Justica Awards 2018, which was held in Colombo just a short while ago. Now on to other local news. We will now take a look at some other emerging stories making news across Sri Lanka.
Police have arrested another accomplice of underworld figure Kanjipani Imran with 2.8 grams of crystal methamphetamine and a sword in his possession. Preliminary inquiries revealed that the suspect Mohammad Mahuddin Rahman Rahima has been engaged in drug trafficking in the area for a long period of time. A fuel station in Pokunuvita in Horana was robbed by two armed men who had fired gunshots into the air, threatening the employees before stealing around 100,000 rupees. Investigations are underway and no suspects have been arrested in connection with the incident. The Maldives National Defence Force intercepted 4 Sri Lankan fishing boats illegally fishing in the Maldives industrial zone and arrested 25 Sri Lankan fishermen on board. The fishing boats in question had ventured into the sea from the Dik Oya Fisheries Harbour on the 25th of last month. Patients at the Ragama Base Hospital have been inconvenienced owing to a shortage of doctors in its newly built intensive care unit. Hospital officials and patients urge the government to deploy adequate doctors with immediate effect.
With that, we cross over to a short commercial break. Make sure you stay tuned for more news.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is Derana 24.
The Asian Development Bank says financing for disaster response and presents an important challenge for Sri Lanka. In a report titled The Enabling for Disaster Risk Financing in the country, it has been revealed that over the long term, Sri Lanka's housing, roads and relief sectors alone experienced a combined annual expected loss from disasters of $0.38 billion. Furthermore, the annual expected losses are the highest for floods at $0.24 billion, followed by cyclones and high winds. The report went on to say that in 2017, the rehabilitation of roads and irrigation systems were estimated at 50 billion rupees. The ADB notes that the country's broad economic conditions are also challenging, complicating any efforts to establish disaster risk financing instruments and leaving the government less able to meet significant disaster response spending needs. Providing recommendations, the ADB noted that the National Disaster Fund should be implemented to streamline disaster-related expenditures while adopting an effective country disaster risk financing strategy based on detailed knowledge of the country's disaster risk and a clear statement of the related contingent liabilities of the government. Following a risk assessment of government-owned infrastructure and assets exposed to natural hazards, the ADB highlighted that development of insurance mechanisms for public assets should be considered. Now, in a bid to boost Sri Lanka's tourism industry, a second domestic air service in the east was launched under the auspices of Governor of the Eastern Province, MLAM Hizbullah, yesterday. The domestic air service by Serendip Airlines will be operational from Batiklo Airport to Katunayake Airport on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Now, currently there are 11 domestic airports in the country. Speaking to media at the event, a representative from the Chamber of Tourism and Industry announced that a 70-seat domestic airline will be launched in the near future to cater to growing demands within the island. Meanwhile, flights between Sri Lanka and Pakistan will be halted until Monday, the 4th of March. A spokesperson for Sri Lanka Airlines said the flight cancellations is due to the decision taken by the Civil Aviation Authority of Pakistan to temporarily close the country's airspace until March 4th. The airline is closely monitoring the situation and will take measures to recommence the flights between Sri Lanka and Pakistan soon, after the Pakistani Civil Aviation Authority reopens its airspace. Pakistani airspace has been closed since February 27th, and this has forced airlines all over the world to cancel or divert flights to Pakistan. On international business news, the Trump administration filed another salvo at the World Trade Organization yesterday, saying the United Nations trade policy was not going to be dictated by the international body, while defending its use of tariffs to pressure China and other trade partners. A report drawn up by the U.S. Trade Representative outlining the White House's trade agenda for 2019 said the United States will continue to use the Switzerland-based WTO to challenge what it sees as unfair practices. However, the report said the United States remains an independent nation and its trade policy will be made here, not in Geneva. We will not allow the WTO appellate body and dispute settlement system to force the United States into a straitjacket of obligations to which we never agreed, unquote. The United States has imposed tariffs on $250 billion worth of Chinese imports to press its demands for changes for what Washington sees as China's unfair policies on intellectual property protections and domestic market access. Pakistan handed back a captured Indian pilot yesterday as the nuclear-armed neighbours scaled back a confrontation that has prompted world powers to urge restraint, although shelling continued in the disputed Kashmir region. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, praising the courage and valour of the captured Indian Air Force pilot today, said the word Abhinandan used to mean welcome, but it means a would change right now.
Flares were lit and flags waved as Indians celebrated the return of Indian Air Force pilot Wing Commander Abhinandan Vardhaman yesterday. Pakistan handed the captured Indian pilot across the border near the town of Wagah just before 9 p.m. Indian time. Abhinandan's MiG-21 jet was shot down by a Pakistani fighter during an aerial clash over the disputed Kashmir region on Wednesday, as 2 weeks of growing tensions between the two countries erupted into open hostilities.
He was happy to be back. What did he say? He didn't say anything, he was smiling, and he says it's back to be good to my country.
Taking to Twitter, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcomed Indian Air Force pilot Wing Commander Abhinandan, stated, quote, "The nation is proud of your exemplary courage," unquote. Pakistan Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said earlier on Friday the pilot would be released as a gesture of peace and to de-escalate matters. Abhinandan became the human face of the flare-up over the contested region of Kashmir following the release of videos showing him being captured and later held in custody.
We will bring you all the action from the big match today. Make sure you stay tuned for that news.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is Derana 24.
Sri Lanka has regained full membership status of the International Cricket Council after 9 months of being relegated to observer status. According to Sri Lanka Cricket Board, its newly appointed president Shami Silva had participated in the ICC board meetings ongoing in Dubai today as a fully recognized director of the ICC board as per its constitution. SSC said Shami Silva's participation and contribution at the ICC board meeting ensured Sri Lanka cricket regained its full membership status of the ICC after 9 months of being relegated to observer status. The ICC does not recognize political or other appointments or interference to national bodies as legitimate under Article 2.4 CD of the ICC Constitution. SSC was on the verge of suspension if a legitimate administration was not elected by the end of February 2019. The 85th Battle of the Saints between St. Joseph's College, Maradana and St. Peter's College, Bamlapitiya ended in draw today. Santush Gunatilaka was the saving grace for St. Peter's College at a time when the Peterites were staring at an outright loss at 106 for 6 in their second innings.
In reply to a first innings score of 219 by St. Peter's College yesterday, St. Joseph's College today resumed their innings from an overnight total of 189 for 3 and declared at 286 with 2 wickets in hand. Coming into bat their second innings, St. Peter's College was seen tottering at 106 for 6. Santush Gunatilaka together with Kanishka Madhuvanta stabilised the innings, adding an unbeaten 211-run partnership. Despite the valiant partnership of the duo, the match ended in a draw. After 85 games in the series, the Josephians still hold the lead with 12 wins to the Peterites' 10, while the other 63 encounters have ended in a draw.
And with that, we conclude this edition of First 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.